A very warm welcome on today, Tuesday afternoon, for another live at the waterhole session for the next 2 hours. And we've started our journey with African's camera at Stony Point down in the Western Cape, and our lovely little penguin chicks. These are the first time that I've seen them for a while. They are indeed looking very fluffy and cute. Hopefully maybe we can even get a closer look at them. Perhaps they'll come waddling out of their little cave there. But my name is Ben Coley. I'll be with you for the next 2 hours, and I am live and ready to be interactive with you all. So please do send in questions, comments, what your plans are for today, what you'd like to see, what you've enjoyed seeing, and any questions you have about that which we are looking at, or anything else for that matter. And I'll, as always, do my absolute best to respond best I can. But always nice to start out down by the ocean. Nice to hear the waves crashing in the background. Nice, relaxing way to spend a Tuesday afternoon. And lovely to see that these two chicks are hatched and doing so well. I remember watching these cameras when we saw the penguins hiding behind that little bit of overhanging vegetation, and we were debating whether or not they were indeed setting up shop and going to build their nest. And turns out they were, and lovely to see the next generation of African penguins. Of course, they are an endangered species. 100 years ago or so, there were millions of them here, and now only a few thousand breeding pairs left. I think the latest figures I saw were about 4,000 pairs, but are only endemic penguin to this area, of course. Always very special to see. Greetings to Lorraine. You're in a chilly Mossel Bay. Hello, very warm welcome to you, even if it is chilly that side. From myself, everyone at Joburg, I've got Nadine in my ear, helping me navigate the cameras today, and hopefully we'll find some things to warm up your day for you. So I personally am very happy. It seems that the cloudy spate of weather that we've had in the Lowveld has passed, and it is forecast to be clear for the next few evenings at least, which makes me very excited, and I can continue with my latest astrophotographic project, which is not a penguin, I have to say, but it is an area of nebulosity within the Milky Way, which does have the rather amusing name of the Running Chicken Nebula. I did not come up with these names, nor do I particularly see a running chicken, but it's a good name, and it made me think of it when I saw these penguins. So I'm busy tonight, but tomorrow night, hopefully I'll get the last remaining information that I need to create a wonderful photo. And good afternoon to Ollie the Oxpecker. Just also saying good afternoon to everybody. Welcome, Ollie. Glad you could join us. Okay, well, lovely to start out with these fluffy little penguins, but it sounds like we've got some elephant activity at Safari Hook in Namibia. So let's whiz all the way across to the western side of the continent and see what's afoot at Safari Hook. Ah, well, a brief look at the elephant, who was caught in a state of suspended animation according to our cameras, so we may go back and try our hand again. But for now, we'll stick with these penguins. I don't know if anybody knows the approximate age of these chicks. I'd love to know. I would think probably about 2 months, just based on what I have seen before. But in the last few times that I've done live at the waterhole, this is the first time we've actually been down to Stony Point. So the first time that I've seen these chicks live, and alive for that matter. I have to say my knowledge of African penguins is not wonderful. We don't get very many penguins here in the Lowveld. But just doing a little bit of reading in the background, it seems that the nestling period is up to about 85 days, so 2.5 to 3 months, when they will then leave the nest. That'd be pretty amazing if we could actually capture them having their first swim, if they haven't already. All right, well, let's see if we can have some elephant luck up in Kenya. If Namibia's not playing ball, let's head up to Afrikaans Old Donyo camera and check that one. Okay, Old Donyo seems to be playing ball with us, and a sight that we're quite accustomed to. A nice big bull elephant having a drink, putting himself in prime position close to that the water inlet pipe, which is somewhere close to his feet, although that seems to be just a standard gulp of water from the dam itself. And I believe from Fuzzy Dunlap, good afternoon, Fuzzy Dunlap, that you were saying that One Ton was here a few hours ago. We were saying yesterday I still haven't seen the great One Ton. And if he's already been in for a morning drink, I don't know whether we'll expect him in the next 2 hours, but we can but cross our fingers. Good afternoon to Ari as well. Greetings all the way from the Netherlands. Never ceases to amaze me the cosmopolitan audience that are getting their African camera fix. Makes me very happy to know that we are able to bring these amazing pictures into your homes and that you are eliciting such joy from what you are seeing. Mr. HUAE87 saying that today is World Croc Day. And Mr. Elemental also agreeing with that. So happy World Crocodile Day to everybody. No crocs here at Oldonyo, unfortunately. I wonder how many elephants have rested up against that tree. If only trees could talk, the stories they could tell. But a very placid looking elephant, even from this distance. You can see there's soft eyes, very much the windows into an elephant's soul. Good idea if you want to get an idea of how an elephant's feeling, just look at the eyes. If they're nice and sort of doughy and eyelids a little bit closed, then he's probably rather relaxed. But if those eyes are wide and staring at you, then just be a little bit more cautious. So my one serious elephant encounter on foot that I had many years ago where I was face to face with a big bull. It's one thing that I will never forget. The detailed image of that elephant's eye and its retina are very much emblazoned in my brain. We definitely shared a moment, stared into one another's eyes. And if you're wondering what those little white patches are at the front of the eye, that's just, I don't think it's a technical term, but a bit of sort of gunk created by the Harderian gland, which is sort of the elephant equivalent to a tear duct.
I met this remarkable rhino bull, whose name is Samson, last year in a place of extraordinary beauty, history and story. I'm going back there to see him in October, and I think you should come with me to his mysterious mountain fastness.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. I grew up mostly in the Lowveld. I grew up here pretty much on the southern side of Kruger National Park, a place called Marlow Park, for most of my years. Something surprising about myself, I did play drums in a band for many years. Best sighting I presented, we found Palumba in the two cubs, and the cubs are just way big. If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. You'll gain access to the channel ad-free. You can rewind and rewatch sightings and gain access to our live Tuesday safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every safari live episode, whenever it suits you. It's just the best way to connect with nature.
The dam, so where the water flows in, is normally where the most dominant bull will put himself to take advantage of that cleaner water. You can see he looks a little bit unsure about this intruder to his area, but everybody seems to be quite tolerant, and the other one quite happy to take some of the slightly less fresh water. Lucy Fukodi, you're asking how can we age an elephant? Well, the only way to do it for sure is to look at their teeth, which obviously we can't really do whilst they're living unless they are tranquilized, and certainly we wouldn't risk tranquilizing an elephant purely to age it by looking at its teeth. So otherwise you're looking at things like the shoulder height, the width of the girth of the bridge of the nose, the gap between the bases of the two tusks. Older elephants, their sort of heads expand a little bit as they grow older. And you can also look at those sunken depressions by the temples. They will normally become more apparent as the elephant gets older. And what in generally sort of the elephant's condition, an older elephant will have a little bit more of a saggy spine. But it pretty much comes down to size and bulk. See, Hayley Schofield has joined us from a sunny Portsmouth in England. That's pretty close to home originally for me. I'm a South Coast boy from England. Grew up about 30 or 40 kilometres inland from Portsmouth. So nice to have a taste of home. Thank you, Hayley. And I'm glad to hear for once it is sunny. But it is summer after all in the UK. So what minimal summer you may get this year, I suppose, remains to be seen. But take advantage of it whilst you can, is my suggestion. And I see also just an update from the Zoomies. I posed the question when we first saw those penguin chicks. So they were first seen on the 27th of April. So yeah, moving on sort of about 6 to 7 weeks, I suppose, the age of those penguins. But I can age an elephant for you or estimate an elephant, but I have no concept for penguins. So thank you, Zoomies. 6 to 7 week old baby penguins. The one on the right looks as if he's just having a little bit of a doze. Everything's on a go slow. Often seems to be the way here at Old Donya. Elephants come in, they have a drink, and then they almost just have a little nap. They lock those front legs and have a little snooze while stood next to the water. It seems to happen more often at Old Donya than other places, but there isn't a great deal of water in this area. That's why this waterhole is, well, there's the pipe. So maybe this one is slightly more dominant, or the other one's just having a nap. But there isn't a great deal of available water in this area, so I'm not sure what the distances involved are, but evidently they have to travel probably quite great distances in between watering sources. It's one of the other reasons why we don't see very many breeding herds in this area, because it's too big a distance for those youngsters to have to travel to find water. Look at that trunk trying to create a seal over the pipe. It looks like the, I suppose what you would call it, the ovipositor, the tube from the Alien movies. That's what it makes me think of. Pulsating with that rhythmical muscular contractions to actually suck the water up, that's then prevented going into their sinus cavities by the valve at the top of the trunk. Mindy Tillipau, you're saying an animal vacuum. Yeah, Nadine said the same thing in my ear. It's almost slightly disconcerting, like this great big suction pad or something from a squid, or as I said, the xenomorph from the Alien movies. Okay, well, it was a nice trip to Old Donya. It sounds like we also have some elephants at Shalati Sunrise. Let's ring the changes with our elephants. Some nice wide-angled views of a herd of elephants enjoying the shoreline there from the Shalati Sunrise in Kruger National Park itself. Such a special place, Kruger National Park, and amazing to have the ability to actually drive yourself around. And Sparks, you're asking, how do we know if an elephant is right or left tusked, or is it tusked? Tusked. Well, very similar to us. They will have a preferential use of one side over the other, and after many years of use, that ivory, as strong as it is, does bear some war wounds from all of that use, particularly the way they tend to break branches over their preferred tusk. And over many years, that will result in a sort of a little groove, a little crevice being cut out of the tusk. So that's normally one way you can tell. Otherwise, you'll often find that the preferred tusk is the broken tusk, because it's also used for digging, for leverage, will be the predominant tusk used in fighting between males, and is thus the most likely to potential to break. And the other thing you can do during the summer is generally they will favor the same side of the trunk as the same side that they prefer their tusk. And when they're feeding predominantly on moist grass, 70–80% of their food intake, you'll see that one side of their trunk will often be stained green with the chlorophyll from the plants and the grass that they're plucking with it. Cheetah fan, you're also from England, and you're saying you've been watching our show for around about a year. Great to know that you are still coming back, and just thanking everybody for the great informative work on Africa's wildlife. Well, we do our best. Peter Fan, we do our best, but we're very, very fortunate to see these things, to witness them, for many of us in the flesh, and that helps us when we're watching these pictures, and hopefully we can draw on some of our experience to try and figure out what's going on and translate the behavior for you. A lot of it is educated guessing, of course. Like I say, until we do invent that universal animal translator, we have to base a lot on body language. Here it looks like we've got a couple of young bulls. I can see no evidence of the fact that they are boys, but just the way they're interacting with one another look like two evenly matched and sized bulls. Just boys being boys, really, nudging one another, just in antagonizing, really. You can see, particularly on the one on the right, that dome is a little bit more, sorry, the forehead is a little bit more domed. It's usually more angular in females. It's another way you can sex an elephant from a distance. But it is a rule of thumb. And you do get males with angular foreheads and sometimes females with slightly more domed foreheads as well. So best is always to look in between the back legs, but sometimes a bit difficult to tell. I believe I'm right in saying an elephant is laid down. Well, that's not something you see every day.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. The best driver at Wild Earth, it is me. I believe I'm the best driver. I think so because I've. Best part of my job, I say, is just to try and look out for these animals, track them down. I love tracking animals. I love looking for, fresh tracks, and if you can find them, it's just at the moment of accomplishment. If I wasn't a presenter for Wild Earth, I would be the drummer for AC/DC.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
More in the winter than I do in the summer, probably because I forget to do anything about it. But that drier air just lets more of those more damaging rays through, and you can physically feel your skin almost burning. I'm not quite sure where the youngsters are at the moment, but I'm sure they will make an appearance at some point. But lovely to see that big, thick tail, so important for the cheetah, of course, in terms of maneuverability. Coupled with the running spikes, those non-protractable claws, which always remain out to give her some grip, and that big heavy tail that can be thrown left and right and acts just like a rudder. And you can see the white tip as well, slightly sort of more bulbous around the tip of the tail, and that very obvious white tip. That is a great beacon for youngsters to follow, particularly in the longer grass where you can't see mum because you're not even half the height of the grass. Hopefully you can keep an eye on that little swishing white tip of the tail. Okay, I'm just going to have a little scan around the enclosure here and see if we can find any evidence of the youngsters. While we do that, I will just field a question that came through a little bit earlier from Ivan, who wanted to know about those penguin chicks, whether they are able to drink salt water or whether they will have to find fresh water. Well, penguins, along with many other ocean-dwelling birds, are able to drink salt water, and they have a special gland which can actually remove there's a cheetah, the excess salt. It's called the supraorbital gland, and the salt is sort of filtered out of the blood and then excreted through the penguin's nasal passage or passages. So you can almost see this sort of fluid dripping out from their beaks. That is, the body ridding itself of excess salt. They will obviously prefer to drink fresh water if they can, but often that is not possible if they're out on a bit of a hunting trip. So bodies have adapted to deal with that salt water. This skinny little thing lying here. The head looks ridiculously large compared to its body. I think it's just the way it's lying and that fluffy mantle of hair. But it looks somewhat disproportionate at the moment. Just watching that chest rise and fall. That's a deeply sleeping cheetah cub, obviously breathing a little faster than the adult, but little heart, little lungs, needs a bit more oxygen in there. And just like any young animal, sleep very important. This time of the year allows the brain time to consolidate all this information that it's taking in, all these new sensory experiences that they are gaining, as well as resting those muscles and allowing everything to grow and knit together in a nice, strong lattice, matrix of muscle, which they're going to be so reliant upon when they reach adult age. The way this one's got his head resting on the concrete there. make use of any pillow that you might be able to find out here. I've just noticed the other one at the back as well. Hello, little cute fluffy bun. Paul, you're asking when do they stop drinking milk? Depends on the situation. Out in the wild, normally about 3 months there or thereabouts. As a general rule of thumb, whatever the gestation period is for an animal is going to be very similar to its weaning period. There are, of course, exceptions to that. Hyenas suckle for a much longer period than they are pregnant for. It'd be interesting to know, watching these cheetah, though, whether they will be suckled for longer. Obviously, um, mum's ability to produce milk is going to be dictated by how much food she's getting. So if she goes through a lean period of hunting, she may find it more difficult to provide milk for those cubs. But in a captive situation, a rescue situation, like here at the Hoodspray Endangered Species Centre, then she will be getting regular food, which will allow her body to create regular and plenty of milk for these youngsters. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are weaned for slightly longer in this situation than they would be out in the wild. But also the youngsters are going to have access to a ready supply of meat, which they will be slowly weaned onto from about sort of 4 months and onwards. But it would be interesting to see the difference between captive animals and the wild animals. Ari, you're saying beautiful sleeping kids. Exactly. Nice when they're all quiet and still, I would think, for mum to have a bit of a rest. Okay, well, we'll leave these cheetah cubs to their snooze. I'm sure if they get active, we can come back and watch some of their antics. But it sounds like we've got elephants at various different locations at the moment. So I am going to leave that. Oh, hang on. Sorry, Nadine, what was that? Sorry, but Nadine said something in my ear. I didn't catch. Oh, apparently we've got something very exciting. We're just trying to wait to get to the right camera. Ah, Rosie's back. We've got a leopard. So you never know what you're going to see on these cameras. How epic is that? From cheetah cubs to a leopard. Thank you to Rosie's Pan in Olifants West. First time I've seen a leopard on this camera. How awesome. Beautiful cat as well. Oh, how special is that, everybody? The reflection of a leopard having a drink. Rosie's Pan. Are you going to disappear as quickly as you came? Looks like a female, just based on size. A little bit of scent marking. See the squirt of the urine there. Note how high it went up onto that. Is that a quarry or a spike thorn? The higher you can get those hormones and those pheromones, the more the wind will carry them and transmit your message to the other leopards in the area. Oh, the way they hold their tail, it's so pretty. It's like the golden ratio. There we go. No privacy in the bush. It's a shame this leopard has, well, probably a good thing this leopard has no concept as to how many people are watching and rejoicing in the fact that it has just gone to the toilet on on television. Your moment of fame. Nicky Beck, indeed, what a treat. Rosettes, indeed, at Rosie's Pan. Rosettes at Rosie's Pan. See if we see that little glimpse of the rosettes going through the trees. Where did you go? Did you decide to lie down? I think I see an elephant's ear at the front. Ah, there goes the leopard, just skulking past the leadwood. Oh, where did it go? It stopped behind that slightly denser patch of foliage. But Ari, yes, spots and rosettes on Live at the Waterhole. It is a good Tuesday. Another perfect example of you never know what's going to happen. I think I can see an ear twitching in that little gap just above centre. Spas, you're saying a very rare sighting for Rosie's Pan. Agreed. Nadine's just telling me that she's seen dogs here, but she's never had a leopard at this waterhole. So very, very special and very happy that we get to share it with everybody as well. VC, you're pointing out the popcorn smell. So if people are not aware of what we're talking about there, where we saw the leopard scent marking and spraying the urine. Ah, excellent work, Zoomies. There's some spots. It has a very distinctive smell, best described as sort of buttery popcorn. And it hangs around for a couple of hours after it's done for our noses. Remember, to other animals, that smell and the associated information will be there for hours and hours, if not days.
Join me, Andrew Wistenholm, for an indescribable 6-night stay in the beautiful Albany of the Eastern Cape at Amakhala Game Reserve. Now, this trip is going to be action-packed with a lot of storytelling, adventure, as well as the opportunity to make everlasting memories. We'll be exploring the best of Amakhala by staying at 2 luxury lodges, which will be the perfect blend of comfort as well as wilderness. Book your spot today, and let's get ready to explore the wild beauty of Amakhala.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change. Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature, live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Out here, every moment counts. As a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and early access to travel offers. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Haley, you're asking if I know when I'll be doing live drives again. Haley, I've been asked by Wild Earth to do uh, quite a few, but unfortunately, with my astrotourism business, I am in peak season at the moment. I say unfortunately, I'm very grateful for it. Peak season, so I'm so busy with other work at the moment. It's a bit difficult to commit to a long stint of doing the live drives, but I'm sure there will be some in the future. I just can't give you an exact date as of yet, but I always look forward to coming back, and I'm very excited to see Sandringham. I think I am due to go there in September at some point. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I know it's a little bit different, but it's always fun to go to a new area. And having spoken to some of the other naturalists there, they tell me it's absolutely beautiful with the rivers running through it, all the drainage lines, some beautiful vegetation. And I did actually bump into the Sandringham lions a couple of weeks ago when I was on my way out of Timavati. I had to drive through Sandringham to get back to the main road. And bumped into the whole pride, although minus the little white one, he was not with them. But that was very cool. I had them all walking down the road in front of me. Our leopard melting away into the undergrowth, doing what leopards do best. There we go, skulking off into the bushes. Well, that was pretty spectacular and a definitely unexpected treat for a Tuesday. There's a little scent mark. See that scorpion tail come up. Another squirt of odor popcorn. Strangely, leopards are apparently, and it's a proven fact, rather partial to obsession by Calvin Klein. I don't know whether it's still done, probably not, but back in the old days, so the old days, you can show how long I have been guiding for now, when people who put track cams up were trying to attract leopards. They would spray Obsession for Men by Calvin Klein on it, and for whatever reason, this seemed to really interest the leopards, and they would come and investigate it. Love the way that tail stands up with the hook. Oh, that was the pose of a leopard that maybe saw something. I was wondering if we were going to see the tail twitch in excitement. Nadine, that would be excellent. Yes, if we had a leopard kill something right next to the camera and drag it up a tree right in front of the camera, we will wait with bated breath. If you could organise that for us, Nadine, in the meantime, that would be great. But something definitely attracted the attention of this leopard. Maybe a little innocent duiker or an impala. Doesn't seem to have gone into stalk mode, so maybe it was just some movement that attracted its attention. Seems to have relaxed a little bit again now. carrying on with whatever great plans that the leopard has today. Martina Schmidt, I'm glad you are excited about this leopard. Yeah, what an absolute treat. We are very, very lucky today. I think this is only the second, possibly third, but I think only the second leopard that I've seen whilst doing live at the Waterhole, and I've still only had a very fleeting glimpse of some lions I think they were at Cat Eye Pan, where we saw them and then the elephants chased them off, and that was all we got. But that's why it's worth coming back and just having these cameras on, and you just never know. All right, that was amazing. So I don't know how we're going to top that, but sorry, Nadine, I wasn't really paying attention there, but I think you said we're going to try Safari Hook again. Ah, beautiful. Elephant swimming time. Giraffe doing its lifeguard duty. One of those youngsters, I think one of those youngsters had a little look at the giraffe, and the giraffe thought better of it. If I'm understanding the message that I've just got through from Nadine here from Limbri, who's one of our Zoomies, suggesting that is a new female leopard. If indeed it was a female, it's very hard to say. Could have been a young male, but just looked a little bit slight, I thought, for a male, but so without seeing the important parts. Hard to know for sure. The head also didn't look particularly big and bulky, which I would normally expect from a male leopard. And Limbri is saying that the original Rosie's Pan female was unfortunately found deceased at some point by a possible snake bite. I'm not sure who has suggested that, whether that's come from Oliphant's West authorities or it's just hearsay. But apparently on the 12th of May, the previously seen female at Rosie's Pan succumbed to something, possibly a snake bite. With this elephant having a great spa day. You can see how dry and dusty it is over in Namibia this time of year. Remsbok watching on in the background, and Ari, all right, a pool party is always a good thing, even if you're the only person having the party.
South Africa's wild places are closer than you think because Federal Airlines brings them to you. From the calm of our FedAir lounge to the smooth boarding of our trusted fleet, we take care of the journey so you can enjoy the adventure. Our flights go beyond the ordinary, connecting you to South Africa's most remote and extraordinary locations. Federal Airlines, your gateway to the South African wild.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Step away from your daily stress and escape into nature with Wild Earth. Immerse yourself in the wilderness and become part of the natural landscape. Watch as everything comes alive. Join us as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with the wild.
Looks like thankfully everybody's managed to get out of the water. Can be a problem for some of the little ones if there's a steep slope. We saw a couple yesterday that was slipping and sliding on the bank. Yeah, these two have decided to go back in. Lots of vocalizations today. So the youngsters just having a little word with that Gemsbok, who was trying to come down for a drink earlier, but you can see the youngsters are full of beans, these two having a bit of a play. Mum in the back left also just gave that Gemsbok a bit of a stare. But you can see how, say, dry and dusty it's getting. So elephants will become quite protective over their water sources this time of year. This cow on the left really not very happy with the Gemsbok, who's just turned its back on the elephants and said, "You can wave your trunk and your ears around as much as you want. I shall just ignore you." Getting very agitated there. VC, you're saying she gave the Gemsbok the stink eye. Absolutely. Interesting how some of them just walk past. They're completely unfazed. Youngsters a bit interested. You can see the swinging foot. Yeah, no, we're going to have a go. Leave it to the teenagers. A little bit of excess testosterone. It is indeed a young boy. It's often the way. His testosterone levels a little bit harder to control at that age. But I sense the Gemsbok's seen it all before. Just a couple of quick paces out the way and got that comfort zone back in place. Another youngster having a lie down. Pretty safe place to be in between those two. If not a little dusty. Maybe that wasn't one lying down. I think maybe that was the shadow of one of the other elephants. My apologies if that was the case. I think that's a termite mound. I was trying to work out where did the elephant go, but it must have just been a shadow being cast on that little termite mound, which is what I assume the elephants are digging up to access all of that nice dust. It was a bit hard to tell, but yeah, I think definitely a termite mound because this youngster's now straddling it, having a belly scratch. This poor box being harassed. Here comes trotting across the screen, followed by a boisterous young bull. Oh, big trunk scratch. Yeah, I was convinced that was a lying down elephant, but it must have just been the shadow of the other one's trunk. Oh well. Never trust anything you see on TV. Dark Main Lover, you're saying it's always an elephantastic day with heavies. Indeed it is. Now, the one thing you could almost guarantee on a live at the waterhole, this time of day, nice and hot. Many animals coming down to quench their thirst, particularly this time of year. This one's having to have a drink after all the chasing of the gemsbok. Haley Schofield, do you want to know what age elephants start having babies? Normally somewhere between sort of 10 to 12, I would say. Will be their first time they will get pregnant, where they are fully mature. So, from a puberty, sexual maturity perspective, elephants very similar to humans. Life expectancy also very similar. So yeah, low double figures, but normally with a birth interval of a good 4 or 5 years in between calves, and they can live up to sort of mid-50s perhaps. So you're looking at maybe 7 or 8 calves on average throughout their lifetimes. Oh, look at the little babies. I think that was a baby zebra there. Yes, just hiding behind. Not surprised with all these elephants and these rambunctious young males around. But lots happening at Safari Hook today. Proper splish splash, this one. Doing some stretching, some rotational exercises. Some plovers and an egret. Possibly a little egret, but need to see the feet to be sure. Everybody staying out of the water, particularly with that young elephant who's very animated today. What's your problem, buddy? Because his nose just disturbing everybody. Proper bee. It's drama queen. It's gotten into this one. I don't think I've ever seen such an animated elephant. It keeps looking over this way. Maybe there's something disturbing him. Maybe it's just getting angry about zebras and the Hemsbok coming down. But the other one's taken a leaf out of his book as well. We're going to get a bit of an altercation here. Some testosterone-fueled pool party fun. And the youngster coming in for good measure. Good night, Claire. Very dramatic scenes at Safari Hook today. Pure excitement, as you've said, Nathan, indeed. I'm just going to put it down to joy of water, I think. Sorry for these birds on that island. They're going to get taken out by an elephant-caused tsunami at this rate. What a great show indeed, Jamie. What a great show. Wonderful to see these elephants so energetic. Lindy, you're saying it's as if they haven't seen water in ages. No, I know they are very excited about the situation, but it is possible, of course, out there in Namibia. Water is a very precious resource, so for all we know, these elephants might have been travelling for days to get to this dam and are very much enjoying now that they have arrived. Elephants can survive without water for longish periods if they have to. They've got that pharyngeal pouch down in their throats where they can store extra water for times of severe, not necessarily drought, but certainly gaps in between drinks. The Labrador, when it finds a puddle, just rolling around and thrashing around for no apparent reason other than the fact that it can and it's fun. You're saying contemporary safari dance, absolutely. I'm going to be exhausted after this exuberance, though. And now nothing left but some excessive rippling. Well, that was an exciting 10 or 15 minutes at Safari Hook. Between poor Hemsbox getting chased around by young bulls to proper pool parties. And as quickly as that happened, they've all disappeared, just leaving one quieter one, who I think maybe was waiting for the chaos to subside before he came down to have a drink. But that was very special. All right, but that was an epic sighting at Safari Hook. Let's head up to Kenya and back to Old Donyo. Oh, a lovely mixed scene. Elephant, zebras, and giraffe. Nice to see all the zebras drinking in unison like that. Beautifully staggered. Make a lovely photograph with their reflections. It's a very quintessentially African scene. Just did that giraffe to waft past in the background.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Best sighting I've presented. I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala. We got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special. Out here, every wild moment matters, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel, ad-free 24/7, where you can even rewind and watch something again. Get access to behind-the-scenes videos, fireside chats, and access to early travel offers. It is the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Similar hopping around on the rocks. So the same species of zebra, still all plains zebra that we have down here in South Africa as well, and Southern Africa, but you can see these ones noticeably no longer have or do not have the characteristic shadow stripe that we see down here, that brownish line that runs through the white stripe, which we see very obviously down here. Don't really get that on East African zebras. It's just a regional difference. They are the same species. They used to be considered this was a plains zebra and we had the Birchall's zebra, but genetic testing has showed that they are identical, and it is just regional variations of colour that had originally made that distinction. So they are now clumped together, and that shadow stripe that we are familiar with seeing, one assumes is in response to the more heavily vegetated areas down here, and just adds another sort of level of camouflage, a brown in and amongst the white and the black, whereas up in East Africa, generally more open plains, not such a necessity to have camouflage, so much as this dazzling effect potentially to ward off predators. Although recent studies have suggested that the likely primary reason, there we go, for the stripes is to ward off biting flies. It messes with the fly's ability to work out distance, makes them a bit uncomfortable. They struggle to land on the zebra. They have a tendency to fly into the zebra and knock themselves out because it just messes with their ability to figure out exactly how far away that perch is. And they've done experiments with horses and wearing jackets of different colours and different stripes. This one looks a little bit pregnant. You can see a swollen belly. Slightly lopsided to the left. It may just be the way she's standing. Deb, you're asking, are animals bigger in Kenya? Not really. Some of the biggest elephants ever found have been in the East African areas, which may be something to do with being closer to the equator, and actually having a larger body size enables you to deal with thermoregulation a little bit easier. The bigger you are, then the smaller the ratio between your surface area and your volume, which means the bigger you are, the more bulk you have, the longer it takes to warm up. But when it comes to things like zebras and waterbuck, I would say not really. And in terms of giraffe, our giraffes down here in southern Africa, the southern African giraffe, are bigger than the Maasai giraffe. So I wouldn't say so in particular, Deb, as far as I know. Oh, beautiful close-ups of those starlings and some elephant floating toenails. And it's nice to see the zebras through the elephant's legs. Hannah, I've no doubt that the birding in Kenya must be phenomenal. It's I've still, other than transiting through Nairobi Airport, I've still never done Kenya, only Tanzania, where certainly the birding is amazing. Having been up there recently, and it is of course the wet season up in Kenya at the moment. It was pretty amazing to driving through the Ngorongoro Crater area, which is almost bordering on rainforest. There's some incredible trees and a great diversity of birds. I can't remember what I ended up with in terms of bird numbers. I think I managed to get over 100 or close to 100 during the time I was up there, including some new ones, which was nice. And there's an East African oryx, or a Bisa oryx, as they're also known. So different to ours down in southern Africa. Same principle, but not quite as black and whitely marked. Slightly more sort of tawny in colour, I would think. But Deb, to your question, I'm not sure if there is any particular size difference between East African and Southern African oryx, but they are a different. Are they a different species or just a different subspecies? That I would have to check. I have just double checked, and they are indeed completely different species. We've got the Oryx bisa, or Beza, the East African or the Bisa oryx, and then the oryx we have down here, Oryx gazella. So definitely different species, not subspecies.
Katika mwanga wa mwezi kivuli hutembea, mrembo mweusi anayepotea, macho yake ni taa, gizani huwaka, fuvu la msitu, malkia anayejificha.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website. Safari, wine, and waterfalls. The ultimate African adventure. Sip South Africa's finest wines, experience a world-class safari among Africa's iconic wildlife, and stand in front of Victoria Falls, one of the natural wonders of the world. All this can be yours with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
Oh, sorry, they are now. They didn't used to be, but they moved in the 70s, apparently. Wildlife Lady, you've just joined us and you hope you haven't missed too much. Well, I'm afraid, Wildlife Lady, you've missed lots. It's been an epic day on the cameras. We've had an amazing elephant pool party down at Safari Hook in Namibia with multiple elephants splashing around in the water and some youngsters chasing some oryx around. But by far and away, the highlight of the day was a leopard drinking from Rosie's pan. So if you didn't see us for that, you must go back and see if you can find it. Beautiful views of I think, a female leopard having a drink at Rosie's pan before melting off into the grass. So that was very, very special. Haley Schofield, what animal would I like to see that I've not seen before? Hmm. Strangely, the one that springs to mind is probably not what would necessarily be everybody's idea, but on the basis that I've been working in the bush for, I have still never seen a South African hedgehog. So that would be quite cool to see. A South African hedgehog. I've seen the sort of the European hedgehogs. I even looked after one for a time that someone handed in because they found it out in the wild, but turns out it must have been an escaped pet. We named him Harry. He went to a good friend of ours and lived out the last year or two of his life. But when we got him, he was missing most of his prickles, most of his spikes as a stress reaction. We're not sure how long he'd been out and about, but he went on to live a healthy life and enjoyed the last few years, um, often joining humans on the sofa and moving around on his own, watching some TV in the evenings. But yeah, I've never seen an endemic South African hedgehog. That and possibly a small-footed cat as well, the black-footed cat. Never seen one of those in the wild, only once in captivity. For a long time, I was looking for a what we call a zorilla or a striped polecat, but I did manage to see one of those at Swallow a few years ago. And it took me also until a few years ago to see aardwolf. But I've seen a few of those now, having been at Mabulla for Wild Earth. That is a good place for aardwolf. And I had quite a few sightings of aardwolf whilst I was there. So this one looks a bit sheepish. He's in the doghouse for doing something. It'd have to be a pretty big doghouse. Also just having a little doze, a little sway of the head, trunk wrapped around the tusk. So you asked a little bit earlier about the right or left tuskedness of an elephant. Even though that one's got a broken right tusk, you can see it seems to favour the left tusk because you can see that fairly distinctive groove which has been cut out after years and years of use as a lever. Interesting to know whether he perhaps started out as right tusked but maybe broke the right tusk, so has learnt to use the left tusk more efficiently. I'm not sure if they swap between tusks, but I suppose they would have to if one gets broken or damaged. And play with your water. Hannah, you're enjoying the frayed ears of the elephant. Yes, this one is particularly unique with that perfect hole there with the bright sky behind it. This is just a sign of age. That skin is very, very thin. It gets caught on thorns. And, well, who knows what else might happen to it. But generally speaking, it just gets a little bit weathered at the edges. Not sure what causes these holes through them. Possibly a branch. Maybe it was moving at high speed. Ripped a little hole, healed relatively quickly. But there is also some form of bacteria that will eat away at damage that is done there. So maybe that just started out as an abrasion that got infected and then cleared itself up, but managed to, the bacteria in there ate through the skin, perhaps. So noticed that particularly the two elephants that we were watching, both of them have got fairly decent temporal secretions. You can see behind the eye there, that darker patch. It doesn't look as if any of them are in full must. I see no dripping from the penile sheath, and just generally the behavior is not that of a testosterone-fueled elephant at the moment. So whether it was just excitement for approaching the water, perhaps. Let's say must, particularly in older elephants, can last for months and months. So they can be in different stages of must. On the right, obviously the bigger, older one, so it could be a secretion caused by some form of submissive display to the male, slightly stressed by the presence of a bigger, more dominant male, perhaps. Or maybe they were having a fight earlier, a bit of a push and a shove, and just caused everything, all those hormones to start going out of check slightly and emerging from the body. Who knows? Someone instantly taking up the best position with the cleanest water. Now the big one's moved off. Lovely natural frame of those zebras between the elephant's legs again. Okay, I think we're going to head over to Camelthorne in Botswana. Ah, look at that. Crocodile having a yawn, I suppose. But since it is World Crocodile Day, apparently today, I suppose it's a good idea that we show you a croc, potentially lying at a den site. Potentially trying to absorb some heat through that epithelium of the tongue there, to get some temperature in through that softer palate. It's quite nice as well when the crocodile opened its mouth just now. We actually got a better look of, we call it gular flap, the bit at the back of the throat, which controls whether swallowing food or gulping down air. So just like we have that valve at the back of the throat. And they do say that should you ever find yourself in a horrific position with a crocodile, if you can somehow wedge your hand far enough down its throat to stop that flap from being able to close, the crocodile won't take you underwater because he'd also inhale a whole bunch of fluid at the same time. So it's an extreme measure. You may lose your arm in the process, but rather that than be dragged under the water. Either that or go for the eyes. A very large pod of hippos. Yesterday when we were here we had probably 30 or 40 hippos all lying outside the water, which looked a little unusual, looked like a sort of a boulder-strewn field. Another croc sunning himself on the bank. See one or two exposed teeth. One of the teeth of the crocodile that is always visible outside the gum line, the lip line, if you will. Of course, those teeth forever growing, forever being replaced. A crocodile can go through thousands of teeth in its lifetime, the body constantly restocking those formidable jaws. Yet another reason that makes them such incredible hunters. Jason MX, you love and highly respect crocodiles and consider them poorly misunderstood giants. I would agree with you completely, Jason MX. They are, I always say this, but of all the animals that you might come across out here in the African wilderness, I have an enormous amount of respect and I'm happy to say fear for crocodiles. There's just something about them. There is not one thing about a crocodile that isn't designed to be a stealthy killer, for want of a better word. It's the ultimate hunter, and that ability to sneak up on things. I never trust any water body out here at all. If I can't see the bottom, I I assume there's a crocodile in it, and I think I just think they're terrifying creatures. But terrifying, but also, as you rightly said, something to be respected. They are terrifyingly good at their job because they are exceptionally well made. Millions of years of evolution sculpting a high precision hunting machine. Just have to look at a crocodile's heart. The only reptile to have a 4-chambered heart instead of a 3-chambered heart. Special abilities to open and close different valves to facilitate blood flow to the areas where it's required and not where it's not required. Hugely evolved heart for a reptile. With the foramen of Panizza, that's the name of the special valve that closes and opens various pathways. There's no point sending oxygenated blood to areas you're not using under the water because it'll just get converted to carbon dioxide very quickly, and the desire to replace it with more oxygen becomes too much, and a breath is necessary. Crocodiles capable of spending an hour, maybe even 2 hours underwater if they absolutely have to. Whereas a hippo can only manage about 5 minutes. You see the brown stuff hitting the metaphorical fan there. I'm not going to stand too close to that.
Now this leopard that we're looking at is known by the name of Hlalamba.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed said dog. Okay, no, it's my first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a salesman, eh?
Got no idea what's going on this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
So we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. Become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every Safari Live episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature.
Asking or stating that hippos and crocodiles must clash often. Well, not as often as you might think. Despite the fact that they occupy the same area, there seems to be a sort of an unspoken truce. A full-grown adult hippo is a little bit too much for even a big crocodile to take on, and the jaws of a hippo are incredibly strong. Their bite force is much greater than you might think for a herbivorous animal. If I remember rightly, about 1,100 pounds per square inch, whereas ours is sort of 180, maybe 200 at a push. So a crocodile would have to be very confident to take on an individual hippo. It certainly wouldn't make any sense to waltz into a pod like this. You're asking for trouble. Where they do clash is if there are youngsters. Hippos, like all animals, are excellent mothers, and they do try and look after their youngsters and will protect them with their lives. But should one be unattended, then that would be a nice easy meal for a crocodile. But they will be very much aware of any of the adults close by. And Terry, you're asking if they're mostly active at night? Predominantly, yes. So dusk, dawn, and nighttime are their peak hours. They will be active during the daytime, of course, but more so as we're seeing now, basking and just warming up so that they can retain that body temperature for the dawn and dusk and the night hours. And Herbert, no, crocodiles don't hibernate. They may be less active in the winter just due to the temperatures, but they don't hibernate per se. They do sometimes go into what we call a state of aestivation or brumation, as it's known in reptiles, where they just sort of enter a period of minimal activity. But that can happen in either season, but it's more of a sort of a recouping way of doing it. Or I should say aestivation is in hot temperatures, and brumation normally in colder temperatures, but not complete hibernation. But Ivan, you want to know how thick an osteoderm can grow on a crocodile? Ivan, I have no idea. That's something I'd have to look. But if any of you are not sure what an osteoderm is, it's those little ridges that run down the back of the crocodile, those little bony protrusions, which have a strong network of blood vessels inside, which is one of the ways that a crocodile can capture the heat from the sun to warm up the body temperature. I'm not sure if anyone's ever recorded the longest osteoderm ever. If you want to see a big osteoderm, look at some fossils of Stegosaurus back from the dinosaur days with those massive plates on their back. Those would also be considered osteoderms, but I'm unaware if there is a record for the largest osteoderm ever found, but I'll see what I can find. Ivan, good question. And Karen, no, I've never been to Australia, so I've never seen a saltwater crocodile. I have been to New Zealand, but I was unable, unfortunately, to get across to Australia. But one day, lots of interesting wildlife that I'd like to go and catch up with down there, certainly. No, but I had a quick look, and just from a very, very, very brief trawl of the internet, I haven't been able to find anything about specific sizes of osteoderms. A few mentions of ancient crocodilians and things that had very enlarged, these sort of bony plates, but I can't find anything substantial in terms of an official record. I imagine it's fairly variable between individuals, between regions, and I wouldn't be surprised if occasionally you get one that has uniform osteoderms and then a particularly big one that's just growing randomly, maybe had access to some more calcium or phosphorus or the appropriate minerals to create that structure. All right, well, that was nice to catch up with some crocs and hippos, especially today. But let's head back to HESC, the Hoedspruit Endangered Endangered Species Centre, and catch up with our little cheetahs. Time for some more play, but I'll do it in the shade. Why not? I love their little vocalizations. We heard lots of them yesterday, that sort of little that they make. I don't know if we're able to actually distinguish one from another, if anyone's noticed any specific characteristics to recognize any of them, because yesterday we had two playing and one was also on its back being rather submissive, and the other one more on the attack. Interesting to know whether that is a sort of a regular occurrence, one more submissive than the others. Maybe we've got a male and a female. Males will be slightly bigger and stronger, and of course testosterone developing. Oh, is prowling mum going to come in and sort out the youngsters? Yep, she's going to leave them to it. It's like, whatever you're doing, as long as you're occupying yourself over there and leaving me in peace, that is fine. Dale, as far as I know, there are still 4. I'm pretty sure we saw 4 yesterday. At one point, they were kind of all in a bundle. But as far as I know, all 4 are still around. Let's hope so.
Join me, Danielle Carstens, in Mashatu, Botswana's land of giants. With over 1,000 elephants, leopards in nyala berry trees, and exclusive access to photographic hides, this is a wildlife photographer's paradise. I'll be there photo guiding you throughout, providing hands-on training and tips. Let's capture striking images together in one of Africa's most rewarding reserves. I would love for you to join me.
very relaxed elephant on the right, with that trunk resting on the ground. I sense this oryx wants to come in for a drink, but is maybe trying to pluck up sufficient amount of courage with two big elephants in the way. Especially when one of them gives you a stare like that. I sense the oryx is trying to avoid direct eye contact. Well, there's a little bit more space at the water. Let's see if our oryx takes his opportunity. Gavin, you're asking, can bulls be partners forever? I assume you're referring to the elephants, although we don't fully understand the bachelor groups. We know that elephants have got incredible memories and can recognize individuals decades removed from each other. But they do seem to form quite close-knit communities, but it is not unusual for one to wander off and go walkabouts for weeks, maybe even months before rejoining. But it certainly doesn't have a strict social structure like the breeding herds do, certainly. So I think certainly if they've grown up together or they've hung out together for a period of time, if they then were to then separate and then re-find one another in 10 years later, 10 years down the line, I have no doubt that there'll be some recognition and some swapping of war stories about what people have been up to, or what the elephants have been up to. So a lot of strong bonds created that last for many, many years amongst elephants. And yeah, elephants can be a little bit bossy, certainly, but I suppose you can when you're that size. Not many people are going to get in your way. So if you want to throw that ample weight around, then you can. Seen some young bulls chase hippos out of the water. I think I saw one at back on the dam cam, but we were live close to Friatella Dam there, and we had a young bull spraying water. I can't remember if it was at a heron or an Egyptian goose, but it was just casually spraying water at it, I think to amuse himself. But always plenty of antics. But it looks like I shall have to wait again for an appearance from One Ton. Somebody did say that he had been there earlier this morning, but it seems that between 12:30 and 2:30 are not his peak drinking hours. Maybe tomorrow we'll get lucky. I'm doing live at the waterhole again tomorrow. But we're going to have to go quite far to top today with leopards and cheetah cubs. Wildlife Lady, I'm glad you've enjoyed today's Live at the Waterhole. And yes, it is a shame you missed the leopard, but hopefully there will be another one at some point. But you are most welcome. I'm glad you were able to join us for at least some of it. With the beautiful crazy paving patterns of the Maasai giraffe. Again, as per our discussions earlier, perhaps more blotchy, more black on it, as that's a good way to get rid of a lot of the heat within the body, expelled through those black areas, particularly during the night. It's amazing how they're all put together. They all follow the curvature of the one next to it, leaving that sort of maze type appearance. It's like a piece of cracked glass or a snowflake. Karen, I'm glad you've also enjoyed today's show. Unfortunately, we are down to within the last minute, but it has been a great day. I've thoroughly enjoyed today. Thank you for all your questions and comments. Wonderful to see a very active pool party at Safari Hook. Great to catch up with those little cheetahs, having a bit of a push and a shove. But I'm sure I speak for the majority of people that the leopard at Rosie's Pan was a real true highlight. That was very special. I think only my second, possibly third leopard of Live at the Waterhole. Right, but don't forget to join us. In fact, don't forget to join me again tomorrow, 12:30 till 2:30. We'll see what else we can find. But thanks very much for all your questions and have a wonderful further Tuesday afternoon.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. Come with us and discover some of South Africa's wildest places, the Lowveld, the Eastern Cape and the Waterberg. We will be tracking some amazing wildlife. Our locations are unique and diverse with captivating charm and character, all filled with a sense of African wonder.